Parts and Repair. Today we are looking at another saw for Scott from Iowa. This is a Homelite EZ, and by the paint scheme you can probably tell that this is very old and very original and very clean. And we're talking cleaner than you're going to probably find on most any of these saws that are left. Look at that serial number tag. I think it's going to focus. 1971 model on this guy. So, very, very clean saw. What you saw was my first attempt at starting it after a carburetor rebuild, and it had to work itself in, and carb was a little out of adjustment. I don't know who had adjusted it last and what the running conditions were, but it wasn't going to be right for me here. So, go through a few things that we did on this. Fuel line needed replaced, no big surprise. Fuel cap ductbill valve. That little aluminum tube was loose and in the tank. There's a ductbill that's underneath it. That controls the ventilation. You can see that little hole right down by my thumb if I get the light just right. That allows air into the tank, and the valves are designed to not let it back out, so it'll siphon, but it won't leak fuel. Very common for that to be a puddle of goo. Take the time, clean it out, and replace it. It's worth your while. What else did we have to do on this one? New grommet was needed on the air filter. It's pretty common for that rubber to go away. But other than that, this saw is clean. I'm going to try and get the camera down where I can get the bar cover off here for you. Best I can tell, this is the original bar. It's not the original chain, I don't think, because it is an Oregon chain. And even though they used Oregon chain, I'm not sure that this series was available at that point in 1971. Whatever the case is, this thing has got next to no wear on the sprocket. Let's see if, before I take that chain off, see if this is focusing enough. Notice there's a lot of side-to-side movement there. See if I can get a better view. But when you come down to the tip, since I just ran that, I'll make sure it's not too hot. There's no movement there. Yet there's a lot of side-to-side movement there. So what that means is this bar has been used enough and it got warm enough at some point, get this chain off, that the grooves are out a little bit. Especially in the middle of the bar. I know that lighting's not the best, but you can almost see that it's wider between the rails in the middle than it is at the tip. So I'm going to compress those with an appropriate tool and then run it across the bar grinder to make these rails flat again, because this chain, when I sharpened it just now, one side of teeth was longer than the other, which is very common, especially when you're hand filing. So that's going to pull the chain to one side or another, which means these rails are going to wear unevenly, and pretty soon the chain is sitting crooked in there, and that's where you start getting crooked cuts and even worse wear. And it looks like somebody didn't always remember to pump the oiler quite enough. There's just a tiny bit of black out here. This is a hard tip. That is hardened, special hardened steel around the tip back to about here, but it will still get hot and burned. So this EZ is a manual oiler only saw. You gotta remember to get some oil out there on a regular basis, or you're going to torch your bar. Trying to get this chain off one-handed is interesting. But now that it's off, let's see if we can focus on the sprocket. Yeah, that lighting's pretty bad. That's about the best view I'm going to get. There's next to no wear on it. And I think that's original because the clutch pinholes for the tool that takes that off aren't all logged out. And that's very common if someone's trying to service the clutch. So anyway, needs a little more tuning. I'll fire it up again once I've got the bar ground and everything back together. But this is one very clean saw, and whether Scott chooses to display this as part of his collection or use it once in a while, he's going to be happy with it.